Have you ever felt lonely, even when you are surrounded by people? Like you are talking, smiling, scrolling, but something still feels empty inside? Today, we are going to talk about why that happens and why so many people feel this way in today's world. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to our channel. I am your host, Sarah, and today I have a very special guest with me. Lucy, welcome to the show. Thank you so much, Sarah. I am so excited to be here today. I have been looking forward to this conversation for a long time. We are so happy to have you, Lucy. So everyone, today, Lucy and I are going to talk about something that almost everyone experiences at some point in their life: loneliness. Why do people feel lonely today? Yes, and I think this is such an important topic, especially in today's world. We live in a time where we are more connected than ever before. We have phones, social media, video calls, and yet so many people feel completely alone. That is a very strange and very sad thing. It really is. And before we begin, I want to remind our viewers, as you listen to us today, please pay attention to the vocabulary and natural phrases we use. We will speak slowly and clearly so you can follow along easily and improve your English naturally just by listening to a real conversation. So let's get started. Lucy, before we talk about why people feel lonely, let's first talk about what loneliness actually is. How would you describe loneliness in simple words? That is a great place to start, Sarah. I think loneliness is not just about being alone physically. You can be sitting in a room full of people and still feel completely lonely inside. For me, loneliness is that feeling when you do not feel truly seen or understood by anyone around you. That's so true. It's that deep disconnect, like you're invisible. Oh, that is such a deep and honest way to put it. I completely agree. Loneliness is not about how many people are around you. It is about how deeply you feel connected to them. You can have 100 friends and still feel like nobody really knows the real you. Exactly. And I think that is why loneliness is so painful. It is not just a physical feeling, it is an emotional one. It touches something very deep inside us because as human beings, we are naturally built for connection. We need to feel loved, understood, and valued by other people. That is so true. Humans are social creatures. We have always lived in groups and communities. Being connected to others is not just something we want, it is something we genuinely need to survive and to feel well both mentally and physically. And Sarah, I read somewhere that loneliness can actually be as harmful to your health as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. That really shocked me when I first heard it. It shows that loneliness is not just an emotional problem, it is a very serious health issue. That is genuinely shocking. And I think that is why we need to talk about this more openly. Loneliness is still something people feel ashamed to admit. Nobody wants to say, I am lonely, because somehow it feels like a personal failure when it is absolutely not. Loneliness can happen to anyone, rich or poor, young or old, popular or quiet. It does not discriminate at all. Okay, Lucy, let us talk about one of the biggest reasons I think people feel lonely today: social media. Because this is something I find really fascinating and a little bit scary at the same time. Yes, this is so interesting, Sarah, because social media was supposed to connect us. That was literally the whole idea. But instead, I think it has made many people feel more lonely and more disconnected than ever before. How is that even possible? I think it happens because social media gives us the feeling of connection without the real depth of connection. You can scroll through Instagram and see 100 people's lives and feel like you are involved somehow, but you have not actually talked to anyone or felt truly close to anyone. That is such a good point. It is like watching a movie about friendship instead of actually having a friendship. You get a little bit of the feeling, but none of the real substance. And after a while, that empty feeling gets worse, not better. And I also think social media creates something very dangerous: comparison. When you see everyone posting their happy photos, their perfect relationships, their exciting holidays, you start to feel like your own life is boring and empty. And that feeling makes loneliness so much worse. Yes! And the cruel thing is that nobody posts their bad days on social media. Nobody posts a photo of themselves crying or feeling lost or eating dinner alone. So you only see the highlight reel of everyone's life and you compare it to your behind the scenes reality. That comparison is so unfair and so painful. Perfectly said, Lucy. And I think another thing social media does is replace deep conversations with shallow ones. Instead of calling a friend and having a real heart-to-heart conversation, you just send a quick message or like their photo. And that is not real connection at all. It really is not. A like button cannot replace a hug. A comment cannot replace a real conversation where someone looks you in the eyes and truly listens to you. We have traded depth for convenience, and I think we are paying a very high price for that. We really are. And Lucy, I want to ask you, do you ever feel lonely even though you are surrounded by people on social media? Oh, absolutely, yes. There are days when I have hundreds of notifications and messages, and I still feel completely empty inside. Because none of those interactions feel real or meaningful. And that actually makes you feel more lonely, not less. Lucy, let us talk about another big reason people feel lonely today: modern lifestyle. Because I think the way we live today is very different from how humans lived even 50 years ago, and not necessarily in a good way when it comes to connection. Oh, this is so true, Sarah. Think about how people used to live. They lived in close communities, they knew their neighbors, extended families lived near each other. People spent time together naturally, cooking together, working together, sitting outside together in the evenings. That natural daily connection was just part of life. And now look at how most people live today. We live in big cities where we do not even know our neighbors' names. We work long hours sitting alone in front of a screen. We come home tired and exhausted and just want to sit alone and watch Netflix. And we wonder why we feel lonely. Exactly. And I think the pace of modern life is a huge problem. Everyone is so busy all the time. People are working more hours than ever before. They are commuting for hours every day. By the time they get home, they have no energy left for real social connection. Friendships require time and energy, and modern life leaves very little of either. That is so well said. And I think another thing that has changed is that people move around so much more now. For work or for education, people leave their hometown, leave their family, leave their childhood friends, and start over in a new city where they know nobody. And building new deep friendships as an adult is genuinely very hard. It really is so hard. When you are a child, friendships happen naturally. You are in school together every day, you play together, you grow up together. But as an adult, you have to put in so much more effort to build those connections. And when you are tired and busy and overwhelmed, that effort feels almost impossible. And Lucy, I also think that we have lost a lot of the community structures that used to bring people together. People used to go to their local religious community every week or be part of local clubs and groups. Those regular gatherings gave people a sense of belonging and connection. Now, many of those community structures have disappeared or become much weaker. That is such an important point, Sarah. A sense of belonging is so fundamental to human happiness. When you feel you belong somewhere, to a family, a community, a group, you feel safe and connected. When that sense of belonging disappears, loneliness rushes in to fill the empty space. Lucy, I want to talk about something specific now, because I think loneliness affects different groups of people in different ways. Let us start with young people, and honestly, this surprises so many people when they hear it. Yes, young people today are actually one of the loneliest groups in the world, despite being the most connected generation in history. They have hundreds of followers online, but very few real deep friendships in real life. They know how to send a message, but sometimes they do not know how to have a real honest face-to-face conversation. That is so true. And there is so much pressure on young people today, pressure to look perfect, to be successful, to have an exciting life. When their real life does not match that pressure, they feel like something is wrong with them. And that feeling makes them pull away from people instead of reaching out. And on the other end, we have elderly people, and their loneliness is a real crisis in many countries. As people get older, they lose their partners, their friends, sometimes their health. Their children grow up and move away. They retire and lose their work community. And suddenly they are completely alone with very little human contact every day. That is heartbreaking to think about. And Lucy, what about people going through big life changes, divorce, breakups, moving to a new city, losing a job? Because I think those moments can make even the most social person feel completely alone overnight. Absolutely, Sarah. Life transitions are one of the biggest triggers for loneliness. And the worst part is that during those hard times, people tend to isolate themselves even more instead of reaching out, which makes everything so much worse. So, what can people actually do, Lucy? What has personally helped you when you felt lonely? For me, the first and most important step was simply being honest with myself. Admitting that I was lonely was the hardest part. I kept pretending everything was fine and staying busy to avoid that feeling. But the moment I said to myself, I am lonely and that is okay, something really shifted inside me. That is such important advice. And I think the next step is reaching out even when it feels scary. When we feel lonely, we want to hide, but hiding only makes it worse. Even one small message to an old friend saying, "Hey, I was thinking of you," can start to break that wall of isolation. And joining something, a class, a club, a volunteer group, anywhere you meet people regularly around a shared interest. Friendships are built through repeated contact over time. You cannot force a deep friendship immediately, but if you keep showing up, the connection grows naturally on its own. And for people who feel too shy or anxious, start incredibly small. One small, genuine conversation with one person. The cashier at the supermarket, a colleague at work, a neighbor you have never spoken to. Small steps add up and give you the confidence to take bigger ones. And please never be ashamed to talk to a therapist or counselor. Mental health is health. A professional can help you understand your loneliness and give you the right tools to build the connections you need. There is absolutely zero shame in asking for help. Lucy, before we finish, have you ever felt really lonely in your life? Honestly, yes. When I moved to a new city alone, I knew nobody. The silence every evening was so heavy. But I forced myself to join a yoga class, and slowly those small conversations became real friendships. It took time, but it completely changed my life. Same for me. After university, I lost touch with everyone and felt completely alone, even in a crowd. That was my wake-up call to start being intentional about friendship, and it changed everything. The lesson is simple. You have to actively choose your people every single day. Friendships do not maintain themselves. And to anyone feeling lonely right now, nothing is wrong with you. Just take one small step today. Reach out to one person. Connection is always possible. Your people are out there. You just have to take the first step. If this video helped you, please like, share, and comment below. Tell us, have you ever felt lonely and what helped you? Subscribe and hit the bell so you never miss our next episode. See you soon!